protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's Chris Hoffman with Money Unleashed.
How much money do you put into your checking account from work on a month-to-month basis? It has a high probability that with your investable assets, we can replace that paycheck.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
You've worked for 35 years. It's time for you to not stress. It's time for you to enjoy and live the retirement you want to live.
It's Money Unleashed with Chris Hoffman.
Welcome into the Money Unleashed podcast with Chris Hoffman. We've got a great discussion for you today, and we appreciate you checking out the show. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. With that said, let's jump into the show. Now, I think I've been looking forward to this all week, Chris, because am I ever going to shock you with this headline?
All right, I'm ready.
The guy behind retirement's 4% rule now thinks that's way too low.
Wow, I'm shocked. No, I'm not.
I know you're shocked face, and that's not it. First of all, I do need your immediate reaction to this. Second of all, I didn't realize that this could be tracked back to just one person since it's been this widespread and widely accepted rule of thumb.
I didn't know that either, so you're educating me on that. I would have thought it was a conglomerate of financial institutions that came up with it and bounced it back and forth and said, sure, we landed on the 4% rule.
So where did the 4% rule come from? Bill Bengen was its creator, and it first appeared in a 1994 study he conducted for the Journal of Financial Planning. It basically states that retirees should be able to withdraw 4% of their savings and investments annually. By using the formula, a retiree could live 30 years without running out of money. And we know that's quite the fear in retirement. So all this sounds good in theory, I guess, Chris, but it's the things the 4% rule doesn't account for that can really do damage to a financial plan, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So one of them being inflation. Different inflationary levels require you to pull out more money. There's also a flaw between using percents versus actual dollars. We don't pay our grocery bill by saying, I'll give you 0.5% of my monthly paycheck, right?
No.
So we're using dollars, they're using percentages. And that's a disconnect in and of itself.
Game, isn't it?
So that's one of the big flaws. Inflation is another flaw. And then dependence on the market. Because what I noticed over the past even 5 years is as the market has gone up, and they calculate the average savings of a retiree, they're now saying, well, actually, in today's environment, you can pull out 5%. So it's also a fixed number. They say you can pull out 4% under the old rule, or maybe it's been adjusted up to 5%, and they don't study it every year, and they're not going to say, oh my, you can only pull out 3% now because the market got hammered, and if you pulled out 4%, you're going to damage your portfolio unnecessarily. Right. So it's percentages versus money, and then it's too much of a fixed rate that they're saying to pull out over a 30-year period of time. So it's not static. The market's not static. Inflation isn't static. You need to adjust it annually, and that's what a good, solid financial plan would do for you, actually. Mapping it out year over year over year, and that's why the Monte Carlo simulation has also been used, which does varying scenarios of market growth or market contraction.
And that's part of the portfolio x-ray, which we can talk about in a moment. Now, a few weeks ago, Chris, you were swinging the sledgehammer here on the show. I want to allow you to swing the axe, but not let people swing the axe at their retirement account, most certainly. And the way that you pay yourself in retirement, or the way that you get that money, does it need to be a fixed number every month? And if so, where does that money come from? Those are a couple of questions I think that people might struggle with and might just not know the answer to, and might just damage their accounts.
Yeah, so what just popped into my mind was your employer doesn't tell you what your monthly salary is going to be. They tell you what your annual salary is going to be. Mm-hmm. So think of things in terms of years, not in terms of months. The 4% rule makes you approach your management of your money on, well, I have to live monthly, but this is an annual number. So, okay, I'm going to pull out 4% of $1 million a year, which is $40,000. Most people will tell their advisor, I need $40,000 a year. And the advisor will send them equal amounts every month. But unfortunately, they have different bonds in their portfolio. They have different stocks in their portfolio generating dividends. And the payments into your account from a financial perspective are not equal every month. So if you're requiring your financial advisor to send you, and let's just use a simple number, $5,000 a month to generate $60,000 a year, there are months where you're going to force your advisor to sell things to make up for the fact that you didn't have enough dividends or interest coming in.
So it's not just where the money comes from, it's when the money comes out.
That's right. An example of that would be dividends. So one company that pays 5% pays on one particular month. Another company that pays 3% pays on the following month. So one month you've made 5% off of that money. The next month you've made only 3% of that money. So if you can manage your financial life around an annual number and be okay with some inconsistencies month to month, then you're in a much better position to alleviate that fear of running out of money, because in effect you're protecting your principal at a much higher level.
Now, Bill Bengen, again, the creator of the 4% rule, which we've talked about a lot here on Money Unleashed with Chris Hoffman, but he's now 77 years old, Chris, and he had a moment of clarity a few years back, realizing that maybe this rule wasn't fully baked, as we've talked about.
Why? Did he run out of money?
I don't think so, but that would have been the irony of ironies.
Yeah, it would have been.
He told MarketWatch, wait a minute, I've been putting stock returns first. What if I put inflation as the most important thing? Well, the minute I did that, it fell together. So years of failure just evaporated in a few minutes, and it was one of the most remarkable moments of my life, Bengen said. And that's a quote from him. So I guess better late than never in terms of creating the formula, tweaking the formula, and perfecting the formula. But scores of people have operated off this arbitrary number and percentage, which is not what we want when it comes to something as important and nuanced as spending one's retirement savings, is it?
No, and I feel vindicated that the guy who created this, Bill Bengen, is now saying, well, there are some flaws in it.
Yeah.
But there's been flaws out there for now many years. Since 1994, that's almost 3 decades
just over.
Of people that have been retiring and tying themselves to that rules and allowing financial advisors to tie them to those rules. So it's a real lesson for the investment community and those that are nearing or in retirement to use your logic. You work with dollars. You don't work with percentages. It's almost like saying, if the market goes down 20% one year, you only need to make 20% the next year to be back to break even. Well, that's not the case. That's not the way dollars work. That sounds like, well, I lose 20% and I gain 20%, I'm at zero. No, you're still behind your original investment. So percentages, I understand we work and we all talk about the stock market's up 20%, what have you. Look at the dollars in your portfolio, folks. How many dollars did you add last year? That's really what matters. How much did you add from contributing? How much did you add from matching? How much did your investments grow? And then you start to flip it when you're in your late 50s into early 60s, and you take a certain amount of those assets and you start to say, not only is growth in dollars important to me, but how am I doing building layers of income? How am I doing with investing in dividend stock portfolios? How am I doing investing in fixed income with higher interest rate assets? What does my Social Security combination look like if I'm a married couple? What does it look like if you just have a single Social Security? And running those analysis, that completes the picture. Then obviously you need to add in, okay, how am I going to be taxed? Because that's important. A lot of folks that walk around saying, yes, I have $1 million in my IRA, do not realize that it may only be worth $800,000, and $200,000 will be claimed by the government over time through withdrawals and required minimum distributions. So it's become a more complex retirement world than ever before, and that's why people need to engage a competent financial advisory team to map it out. Map out how you're invested, how those investments will serve you over time, and then also include, how am I going to draw income from my entire financial life? And is it highly reliable? Is it guaranteed? Or is it variable? I would say that interest is variable. We saw it spike a couple of years ago, and now it's come back down. So that's a variable amount that you'll generate from your portfolio. So you need to generate the income plan, and then you need to add the taxes to it to avoid those, because unfortunately a lot of today's money is in pre-tax dollars that have grown tax deferred. If you just complete the circle, invest for growth, build an income plan, avoid taxes, and make sure you're not too exposed to market losses. Those 4 components, put them in a financial plan, track them year over year. I think that is the replacement for the 4% rule.
And if you think about it this way as well, when you hear something long enough, a lot of times it just becomes taken as fact.
That's
and that
right.
can be the same thing with these retirement rules of thumb, or things that might work for some people under certain circumstances, but will they work for you under your circumstances? That's the question that you need to be answering. That's the kind of planning that you need to have, because you're not planning for somebody else's retirement, Chris. You don't want somebody else's retirement. Right. You want the best retirement for you.
Yeah, and one of the rules in retirement is you're not allowed to make mistakes. I say it all the time. I say it to my advisors. I say it to our clients. I say, look, the game changes. When you hang up those work cleats, you can't make any mistakes. We need to plan it out. We need to track it meticulously year over year. And we need to take the emotions out of investing and take the emotions out of what the stock market is doing and get down to the reality of what your money can do for you over the next 30 years plus, and map it out year over year and tie ourselves to those goals. That's what I believe a great financial advisory team will do for you. They will complete that circle and build a holistic retirement plan. Not just say, well, you should be okay if you pull out this amount of money per year, and then you go, oops, inflation bit me, or oops, taxes took a big chunk. So these things are not black swans. They're not surprises. They're out there, and we know them at Hoffman Financial Group. And if we build you a holistic retirement plan, we should be able to check the boxes on all of these. And then the variables, the changes in interest rates, the changes in inflation, the changes in the stock market, those aren't feared. Those are accepted, because there's always a way, no matter what economic condition we have faced, there is always a way to come out on top. Even during the Great Recession, if you had the right plan, you could have taken advantage of a depressed stock market of 30, 40% and moved assets back in. So take the emotions out, put it in a plan, map to that plan, and I think that provides the highest level and probability of financial success for you in retirement.
And let's take the word oops out of your financial vernacular. You don't want it there. Hoffman Financial Group helps people build financial plans that are customized for your exact wishes, wants, and needs, not rules of thumb, not magic numbers. It's a plan that's designed to get you to and through retirement. Give us a call to get started today. There's absolutely no cost to get that plan going. 404-341-6767, 404-341-6767, or unleashyourmoney.com. Chris Hoffman is an investment advisor representative of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.